Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million
podcast presented by us, essentially. And so we have a bit of catching up to do in terms of baseball. I know it's something we haven't really talked about in a while, so here we are finally talking about it after all this time. And so let's start off with Boston. Boston is currently 5-4 on the season. Opening day at Fenway Park was just over a week ago, and the biggest conversation point with them so far has been the rule changes. Rule changes meaning 8 seconds within the batter's box, or I should say outside the batter's box, actually. And I know we've had a couple of outs called by that rule, one of them being Rafi Devers. I know we just signed a major contract with him. He has been proving to be extremely beneficial, but he has been called out a couple times because of the rule regarding being outside of the batter's box more than 8 seconds, and that is going to be a major change going forward throughout the season. And that leads me to rule number 2. What is going to be that other major rule? And that is going to be the pitching side of things. The pitching side of things meaning you only get a certain amount of time without a runner on base, and when you do have a runner on base, you only get an extra amount of time. I believe, if I remember correctly, you only get about, say, 20 seconds, again, without that runner on base. And if you do have a runner on base, you get about, let's call it 30 seconds. And so that's going to be huge in terms of increasing the time, and it's proven to be true already. Okay, I know, especially at Fenway Park, there have been games already that have been just over 2.5 hours. Granted, that was only one game at Fenway. The other games have been 3 hours or above, but since they have been on the road, games have been 2.5 hours at most. And so that's huge, right? Makes the game more exciting, makes the game that much more special. And to go above and beyond that call of duty, it really makes the game that much more aerodynamic, in the sense that you really have to pay attention to what's going on, because if you don't, then you get to miss a lot of that action. And the action meaning the sense of the size of the bases. Something to pay attention to is the bases have increased in size dramatically. And as even Alex Cora has said in the past, it's like having 3 pizza boxes on the field because they're just that big. And a lot of players have been stealing bases, which has changed the outcomes of games, as we have seen over the last several games. And so in terms of rule changes, those are the major things to see: the batter's clock, the pitcher's clock, and the size of the bases. And so what does that equate to in terms of the Red Sox season so far? 5-4. I mean, not that pretty. I mean, it could be a lot better. A lot better. Yeah, I mean, granted, though, if we look at it more of in a positive way, the last several games, the Red Sox are 2-3 in terms of series wins. The offense has exploded over the last several games. I mean, they had a walk-off win last Saturday against the Orioles, 9-8. It was the final score. Yesterday, they had a game against Detroit where they beat Detroit 14-5. Today, they won again. I mean, it was only 4-1, but still, I mean, that's not too bad. 4-1's a good game. But like I said yesterday, they won 14-5. I mean, where did that come from? Absolutely out of nowhere. The pitching, I mean, I think that is a conversation that's been ongoing for several years now. The pitching does need to improve. Still. It's still not pretty. It's still not sweet. Pitching needs to improve immensely. And they really need to pay attention to the fact that they are in it for the long game. I mean, it's always been a goal for the Boston Red Sox is actually not just a goal, it's been the number one goal to win a championship. And so they need to remember that they need to play the long game. Day in and day out counts. It counts now, it counts in July, it counts in October. And so they need to remember that it's the long haul that matters, and what they do now will impact the end of the season. And so to go on top of that, we need to start paying attention to Worcester. What is happening in Worcester? The Worcester Red Sox, I'm going to call them the Woo Sox because that's what we call them here in Worcester, Massachusetts. They're currently 5-3. Okay, currently within their division, they are 4th place. So again, they have some things that they can improve on as well. I mean, what team doesn't have something to improve on? Okay, and they need to focus really on the changes that they see in the future. I mean, things are going to change. Things are going to be different really week in and week out in terms of folks going to Portland, folks going to Boston. And what are they going to see next week that's going to be different from the week after? And so really it's all about adjusting to what they're given within each and every game. And so the coaching staff really needs to pay attention to the pitching side of things, the offensive side of things. I still haven't been to a game yet where the Woo Sox have won. And so they need to focus on that, right? Just dealing with the cards they're given, being able to adjust, being able to work the flow of everything. And of course, this start of the season hasn't been the easiest thus far because the simple fact that they just had a major series against Buffalo where the weather was absolutely horrible. The weather was trash. The weather just did not work out, where they really had to postpone this series but just because of the irrigation system up in Buffalo. And so that was not the prettiest start in the world. So they're already dealing with curveballs on top of the curveballs they're already dealing with. And so moving forward with baseball in Worcester is just going with the flow. And so that's a quick recap for baseball in Worcester and Boston. It's a long season ahead, but it's going to be a fun season. So with that, we'll just end it there. So this was the Foul Ball Podcast presented by the Foul Ball Podcast. And as always, our website related everything to us is located at foulballpodcast.org. Take care, and we'll see you all soon. And go Red Sox.